Great.
Here we go.
Hey, all right, here we are sitting backstage with Craig Shoemaker, and Craig, you played our place, and you're saying 20 years ago?
In another location, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Did you?
I went there just now. I said, "Where the hell?"
Oh, the old theater,
Where is this?
The old strip mall,
on the corner of Crack and 8 Ball.
Exactly.
But now look at this, moving up in the world.
We did.
We got a sold-out show tonight. I'm
Yes, you
looking forward to
did.
this.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did sell it out. Absolutely. That's I love seeing that. And now, did you only play the club once? And
Yeah.
Was that it? I don't even remember.
I only did it because of Brian Johnson. My old buddy there.
Because he was here.
He moved here,
Right.
and I remember when they built the house, and I said, and then I was playing a lot here at the doing that benefit for.
Well, I remember you came in town a couple times for the Oslo,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So I did that for them.
Right.
So I built a little following in Sarasota, and I said, hey, and so I did one night for you, and he came to the show, and with Brenda, his wife, and everything.
Yep.
You know, he sang. Not only did he sing at my wedding, but as a wedding gift to Johnny Damon. You know, Johnny Damon, the baseball player, lives in Orlando. I'll see him this week. As my gift to him, what are you going to give a guy who makes millions of dollars? I got Brian to sing at his wedding.
Oh, nice. Very nice. I remember you and I played golf out at Laurel Oak, where he was a member at that time.
Oh, that's
right. And it was supposed to be the three of us, and then something happened. He couldn't make it, but me and you played. And I remember you hit the ball pretty well.
Back then, maybe. Now I got a trophy for closest to the car.
Gotcha. So you're not playing much anymore?
I don't play much. I mean, I'm so busy. I'm just, I got divorced, so I'm a single dad now. So that's
how old's the kids?
I got 10 and 15. So I got a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
Running businesses. The pandemic, I did a lot of pivot to other businesses,
right,
and producing and stuff like that. So I don't have a lot of time to golf because it really is a commitment.
Sure. Are you based out of Los Angeles?
Yeah, I'm based out of LA. All my shows this year, by the way, including yours tonight, are benefit shows, and all proceeds go to my ex-wife.
Oh, very nice.
She got half my joke to the divorce. All I got was the setups. So a priest and a rabbi walk into a bar. If you want the rest, go talk to her.
Oh man,
yeah, man. So I've been really busy. I wish I could golf more, but I'm going to take some time. I was thinking about playing tomorrow because I'm off. I actually have a day off before my Orlando gig and then Tampa. So I have a complete day off my birthday.
I knew it was your birthday.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 39.
Come on. Who cares anymore? I just turned 69.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a good year.
Yeah.
I want to stay with that one.
The bad joke year. Of course.
Just lock in on that one.
Of course. Absolutely.
That's the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's I've been at this since my junior year of high school.
Stand-up comedy?
Yeah.
Wow.
I paid for my college. And
where did you go to college?
Temple University.
Oh, wow.
In Philadelphia. Yeah.
Bill Cosby.
I like to go Bob Saget, Hall & Oates, the Sister Sledge. You had to go Bill Cosby. We don't lead with him anymore.
I know. And ain't it a shame? We've talked about this. Is that still, in my opinion, and I've seen Cosby a couple of times live. Still, hands down, the greatest storyteller that I've ever seen, without a doubt.
The best clean storyteller.
Without a doubt.
Sure.
Without a doubt.
I mean, he definitely has that championship for the clean storytelling, which is ironic because his life off stage is not clean.
Was not clean. No. Exactly.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, I mean,
Saget was the same way too.
The flip of that, right?
Yeah, he was dirty.
The filthy guy who was clean.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he would do these clean shows like Full House and America's Home Videos, and then he goes and does his act, and he's the exact opposite. Yeah.
But at least he advertised it. He let you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, so the point being is, do you condemn the art because the artist was a bad person? And if you look back, we've talked about this. I mean, you look back in history. I mean, even Michelangelo wasn't the greatest guy. You know what I mean? So, I mean, a lot of weird artists that created great art.
Of course. I mean, that comes with the territory some of the time.
Right.
A lot of artists are really depraved, and a lot of us come from pain. I come from a lot of pain. I'm very fortunate that I worked that out. I coach people and I say it's the off stage is much more important than your jokes.
Right.
It's really getting to know yourself, having an expedition of yourself and your soul and your spirit, and then tapping into that. But when it remains dark, you can always tell it on stage too if they're still wounded. And I don't think the comedy is as effective that way. I do think if you work your stuff, like if I say I'm divorced, like I just said that earlier, you can sort of tell that I'm healed from it, like I can have fun with it.
Sure.
But other people come across as bitter because they're still in it.
Right,
still in the pain. But I had a lot of torture growing
now,
up.
Interesting. I don't know if you ever knew a comic named Brian Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Brian passed away several years ago. Yeah. But Brian was a great friend. And so I used to do this.
A lot of demons, though.
Yes. And I used to do this thing where at the end of the show on a Thursday night, I would come out, headliner would go off, but then an audience knew it was going to happen, that I was going to bring the headliner back on stage, and we were going to do about a 20-minute interview with some Q&A, because I wanted audiences to see that comics aren't born this way, that they come from all walks of life, all kinds of different backgrounds. Yeah. A lot of people just think, oh, you're just born that way. Well, no, you might be. Everybody has a tendency to maybe do something a little easier than others, but I tell everybody, I go, you become a professional in anything because you work your ass off at it. I mean, that you got to put a lot of work into it.
Tens of thousands of hours into this.
And so, Brian, I'm interviewing Brian. And I told him, I said, in the last 7 or 8 interviews, it's been a running theme that comics are damaged goods. And that's where we come from. And he goes, well, that's true. And then he tells his horrible life, of growing up gay in a time when you cannot be gay. You cannot tell anybody you're gay at all. So then it's like you're living in solitary confinement. And he was doing drugs by the time he was 14 years old. And he was suicidal and nearly offed himself several times. And finally made it out of high school when he got into college and got into a college theater department and found a place of acceptance and began to heal and be okay.
That's why people get into the arts.
And I told him, I said, okay, all right, I get that. I said, but Brian, I said, I've had a wonderful life. And he goes, yeah, and you're not funny. He fucking smoked me.
There is that theory. I mean, Seinfeld apparently has had the most amazing life, right? And he doesn't really have the pain.
Right.
So obviously but he could be an outlier. I think most of the comics that I know. But I want to ask you this: do you think anyone can be taught to be funny?
Yes.
I do too.
Yes, and my wife, because we teach here, and we've been teaching comedy since 1987.
Wow!
And the reason we got into teaching is because we watch these poor open micers walk up for the first time, and they don't even know how to hold a microphone. And we thought, well, fuck, let's do some workshops or something where these guys at least, when they get on stage, they at least know how to be up there, so they got a fighting chance to get started instead of flailing through their first 7 or 8 times on stage. And then that built into a program, and we've been doing it for years. And we've had, here in this area, thousands and thousands of people go through the course, And my wife has asked me that. Do you think anybody can be funny? And I said, yes, it's part of human nature.
That's exactly. We're born... I always say we're born love, light, and laughter. We are born that way.
Absolutely.
And then we're conditioned and programmed to do the opposite, where we have to comply with other wishes. It's whatever their commands are. We regurgitate. You get an A, you get a medal for just doing what they tell you to do.
Right.
Wipe that smile off your face. What are you laughing at? Don't be a fool. All those messages, that's what made us not funny.
Yes. And
but we're born funny.
Exactly. And the fear, because as we all know, and I teach this, the 2 ways to captivate an audience is fear and laughter.
Yeah.
Most people use fear because it's easy. Comedy's hard. Comedy's hard to learn to do. It's hard to be good at.
Fear is used by politicians.
Fear is easy. Fear, and it is what politicians, what a lot of people use.
Yeah.
But the working at being funny. I know Pam would go. She'd see these open micers. It's just like, that son of a bitch has been coming in here for 2 years, And I said, some people take longer than others.
Yeah, and also there's a difference between being funny and performing.
Yes.
There's a big difference.
Yes.
In real life, around a dinner table, you could be really funny and put you on a stage and nobody knows what they're doing. It's a whole other. It's a craft and an art and needs to be worked. But just like I can ride a horse, but I'm not going to be in the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
You know, there's certain things. And I bet anyone can ride a horse. You're just
yes.
So
Yes.
You can be taught, so I say that about being funny. What I have them do is something really simple. Is I say just share your favorite funny movies, and all of a sudden the whole energy changes because I remember that those aren't pillows. They start quoting your favorite movies and stuff like that. So now there's a vibration of funny.
Right.
Just there's simple techniques. I teach it too, and I teach executives and corporations how to bring more funny and laughter, the alchemy of laughter.
Sure.
And it's about laughter, not comedy. There's a big difference.
Right.
Just like drama's not crying.
That's right. And, you know, the number one thing I tell them in the difference between just being funny with your friends, and I said, you know, funny with your friends in the kitchen at a party, you know, that's great, and you can do that, but you're familiar with each other. There's a lot of those dynamics there. And when you get up on stage, it is a performance. And I said, the difference is when you get on stage and you're performing, you need to know where that laugh's going to come. You need, unless you're improvising, you need to know that I expect the laughter to start when I say that or when I do that.
Right.
You know, you've structured your setup so that when it hits here, they're going to start laughing. Because in the structures, like I tell them, I go, because you need to know that, because once they start laughing, you got to quit talking. You can't if you keep talking, they're going to quieten down because, you know, you're still talking. So you're stepping on your laughs, just that kind of structure. And so when you come to me as a teacher and go, hey, Les, I got an idea, blah, blah, blah. Do you think this is funny? Blah, 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 blah. And I go, where do you think, in what you just told me, where are they going to actually start laughing? That's what I need you to be able to tell me, identify that. And then you're putting the puzzle together for your set, you know. Whereas when you go to a party and
it's just a flow.
You're just a flow.
Yeah.
I go, you didn't sit at home that afternoon going, okay, I'm going to tell the story about, you know, and prepare it, you know. So, yeah.
And when you're with your comrades also, everything's kind of safe.
Yeah.
Like I used to get together with my buddies. We'd get high. I always thought everything was funnier when you're stoned.
Oh, sure.
Say, write it down. Use it in your comedy act. I write it down. I find this note. What the hell does this mean? Hamster nipples. What the hell does that mean? It killed you the night before. Don't say it again. No, I can't breathe. Yeah. But we came up with a catchphrase when we were high. Thought it was so funny. And we kept doing it because we got to bring this to the school. So we waited at a pep rally. And the catchphrase was, hee hee. How high are we to think this would catch on in the country? We really thought. We go pep rallies. 1, 2, 3. Hee, hee.
We're going to get famous.
We thought we were going to be famous. We snuck into the booth of the Phillies, like the broadcaster. We had our hand on that door. We're just about to yell it out. Go, now all of Philadelphia's going to hee hee. But they caught us and they beat the hell out of us. The security guards, we weren't hee-heeing then.
No.
No,
but you know something that did that absurd to me, but did make somebody famous was I'd worked with Tim Allen several times, you know, coming along. Sure. And then we were working a Punchline in Atlanta, and I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. Exactly. And we're talking, and he goes, I've tapped onto something that I think is going to be my thing. And I was like, what is it? And he starts grunting. He goes, ho, 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 ho. He goes, I do all this man stuff. Ho, ho, ho. And he's explaining it to me. And I know, you know, I'm a feature actor, you know, and I'm sitting there looking at him, and I'm smiling, going, "That's great, Tim." Wow. And in my mind, I'm thinking, "It's the stupidest fucking thing I ever heard of in my entire life. How the fuck is that going to make you famous?"
I have not predicted well. Also, I'm with you on that.
You know,
I remember Rich Jenny came down to my club, and I booked some things in Philadelphia, and John Mulrooney brought him. He goes, "This guy's going to be really great." And he goes on stage. He taped dollar bills all over his body. He just walks on stage. He goes, "I'm made of money." And I'm going, "This is your genius?" And I said, this guy's going to never make it. And he turned out to be one of the best comics ever. Jenny's most underrated.
Jenny was
ever.
Absolutely. I think Rich Jenny and Sinbad are two of the most underrated comics I've ever seen that just
Sinbad,
could almost take any audience.
Yeah.
Rich, we booked him in our club in Chattanooga back in 86 or 87 when we got that started. I didn't know who Rich Jenny was. And this guy got up there and sat down with this Southern audience, and he destroyed that crowd. And I mean, every night when he didn't have a time constraint on him, he did at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
And normally, I would tell any comic, yeah, you can do 2 hours, but the audience don't want to see 2 hours. They quit drinking at an hour. Yeah. We're not making, you know what I mean? You can do it. You can pull it off. Rich.
Yeah.
And what always amazed me is we watched him do that all week long. And so 5 or 6 times. And whether he did 2 hours or 2 hours and 15 or whatever, he always had a closer that was better than anything he had done up to that point, and it wasn't the same closer.
Crazy.
And we were like, but you know something? That never worked as well on television.
He didn't translate.
Rich was not a guy.
Which drove him crazy.
He didn't.
It drove him literally crazy.
Yeah.
And he would compare himself to others who were making it bigger. He would call me at 3 a.m. Shoe, what do you think of this guy, Shoe? He gets up there and he puts a shoe on his head. And he'd be all baffled by it. I remember one time talking about the South. I don't know if it's your club. He came back and we were hanging out, and he says, Shoe, I play the South. They don't get the New York jokes, Shoe. And he said to the audience, he goes, do you even know what a Jew is? Silence. And he says, I don't know if you ever heard this before. He goes, do you know what a bagel is? And from the back of the room, he goes, a bagel? Yeah, that's a hot dog.
Right.
I remember when he came back and told me that. Yeah, but he was
brilliant.
He could take
brilliant.
He could just take a joke down to the carcass.
It's unbelievable.
He could just get the whole. A lot of us will just get the surface, get a little bit of meat. He would take it down to the carcass.
Absolutely.
Amazing how
he
worked.
And I've taught this. And I go, look, here's something I need to tell my years. One, to be famous, for the most part. Nowadays it's changed because of the internet. But to be famous, you have to get mass media, whether that's television, radio, movies, or now the internet. You have to get on some form of mass media and do really well there. You know what I mean? Or else you can't get famous, or very, very, very difficult to get famous any other way. And I've seen so many comics you've seen over the years that they're great on the screen, but you put them in a club, they're not bad, but they're not great. And Rich was a good example of the exact flip-flop of that.
Right.
Brilliant live, but never translated on video.
I'm kind of that way. I mean, he and I were trained the same way in bars and, almost combat comedy.
Right.
So we weren't trained in the intimacy of a television. We were trained to go out there and really go after it.
Right.
That's why he dissects it, and I do as well. I mean, I go for it with tags and callbacks and keep firing and firing. I like to say I'm a marathoner, not a sprinter.
Right.
Which I'm a great marathoner. Sprinter, pretty good. Same with him. But, you got to sprint on television. You got 4 minutes. You got to bleed from the word go. Look at me. I'm recovering Caucasian. I'm not like bleeding from the second I walk on stage. I'm like going, hey, I'm a minority. I'm out on your hubcaps. Hey, I'm fat. I'm taking your buffet. All those opening lines that they have takes you a while to learn how to tell a story when you don't look the part of the comedian.
Right. And I always thought Seinfeld was a great example of a guy he is great live, but he's better on television. I mean, he's the perfect TV comic to me.
Yeah.
To me, perfect.
But he developed his sprinting. Mm-hmm. He worked on his sprints, and I never worked on my sprints.
Right.
Almost intentionally, I was like, "That's just not my.
Well,
not my race."
You started out with you locked in on that character, the Love Master, which was your hook, really, and it did. I mean, people love that character.
And you got to have something memorable. That's the other secret to success. is you got to get that memorable thing, your greatest hit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like our friend Brian. You know.
Oh yeah.
There's no way that you're not gonna. Dirty Deeds is not going to be in his repertoire or whatever it is. You know, you wait for those greatest hits.
Sure.
Springsteen's got to do Born to Run. What I like about Love Masters, I can write new lines all the time. Springsteen can't suddenly go, baby, I'm born to trot. I'm born to jog. You know, like I get to do these new sexual ethereal lines all the time for the Love Master. Now, now of course, they want to cancel me now, but it's a character.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a character.
Well, you know, we started having Dice started coming down here and playing, and you would think in this day and time, I mean, it was always a little bit of amazing to any of us that in the early days that with the type of show Andrew did, that he had more female fans than male fans. You would think it would have been the flip flop.
Yeah, you would.
But it wasn't. He had more female fans than male fans. Because I think that his fan base understood how over the top this crazy fucking character is.
He's more popular now. I bet he's catching steam now.
He's kind of, well, he's never went away, but he started coming back and playing some clubs. And
he's selling out again.
Oh God! And the biggest ticket price we've ever charged. I mean, it's $125 in a club.
Wow!
But I mean, but he'll do like he did 3 shows the first time, then he came back in 6 months, did 2 shows, back in 6 months, did a couple more shows. But I mean, they sell out.
He has a thing that sticks with me.
Snap.
I don't know if this ever happens to you, like in real life. If I put on, if I put on all blue. Every single time I do it, I imitate him. I'm in my closet putting it on and go, little boy Blue, he needed the money. I do it every time I put on blue. So I'm talking about since the 80s. Unbelievable. Some comics say there's certain lines and rhythms that stick with you.
Absolutely.
When you think about those.
Absolutely. And he does still have a huge fan base.
I kind of like, it's really interesting. I've been at this since high school, a long, long time. And it's kind of interesting to me. Like, I grew up really poor and, looking at...
Did you grow up in Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, very poor, no dad. My dad left. He's a cult leader. Became a cult leader. And also all these odd jobs, like entrepreneur stuff was a French word for scam artist. And so I grew up in a way where I just looked at television. I used to write them letters. I wrote to people to try to fix them up with my mom. Like Paul Lynn, I said, you should meet my mother. You'll unconfirm as a bachelor.
Who would know that he was gay?
Not when I'm a kid. And she didn't even know. My mom was always in denial. She thought Liberace was flamboyant.
Exactly. Well, back then, I just saw something on television that used Paul Lynn and Rip Taylor and Charles Nelson Riley. And
you saw that special.
Yeah, they were flamboyant. You go, no, exactly, they were flaming gay.
That's what you called them back then.
That's right.
You wouldn't picture them actually sleeping with a man.
No.
But Paul Lynn, I used to think we would be the first father and son team on the Hollywood Squares. He would adopt me, marry my mother. I like Craig and Paul Lynn for the win, please. We're in the box together. Take it, son. It's a sports question. That was my visual. And what's really weird, though, is, like I said, it's like these dreams that have come true. They manifest themselves in different ways. But I ended up on 75 episodes of Hollywood Squares.
That's right.
Which was really cool because I watched that as a kid.
Yeah.
So when I'm that guy now, people are approaching me and quoting things like that. It's very touching. It's really, it's like, I saw you this time and I was with so-and-so. It's my first date. We are memories for people.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which is crazy to me.
Without a doubt.
So obscure.
When people come up to you, for me, just because I decided to stay in one place, and I know Ron White was sitting back here one night, and he's like, hey, man, how come you didn't try to do what we did? And I said, I wanted to stay married to Pam. He goes, right. Right. But you know.
Part of me wishes I did do something like you.
But the thing is that it's so wild how people come up to you and go, hey, man, remember me? And I always go, help me. Well, it was back when let's see, that was about it was 1993. It's my wife's birthday. You talked to her in the audience. You said this. You got to remember that because it was so fucking to them.
Right.
And you go, that's a memory. That's something they talk about still all the time, that it was a little magic moment for them. That you created.
That's what's crazy about it.
It's awesome.
To think that this little guy growing up watching television and fantasizing could actually be that now is just
You know what's the most beautiful thing, and now being here for 37 years and having this thing, Pam and I have talked about it. I go because now, of course, I'm as famous here as the weatherman. Matter of fact, I fucking kid the weatherman that I'm more famous than he is. Fuck you. But anyway, to walk around town, go anywhere, and when anybody catches eyes with me, the first thing they do is smile. Oh, and then they giggle a little bit. And you go, when they see me, that something funny hits them. I go, what a wonderful way to have gone through your life, that when people see you, you're the face of laughter for them. You're that's the first thing that happens to them.
Joy to them.
Absolutely. That's
they
what you did.
Santa Claus once a year.
That's what we all did.
You're like 24/7, even in hot weather. You're Santa Claus. You're bringing the merry ho-ho-hos and ha-ha-has to people.
So you said you started in high school. What year was that? Because stand-up comedy didn't blow up until the 80s.
Yeah, well, I started in the 80s, and I was like there in the beginning of all of even Seinfeld, Bill Maher. These are the people.
Well, that was me too. But I'd gotten out of college in 81 and was going to be an actor and was going out to L.A. And all of a sudden, I found out about the stand-up comedy club here and there. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There weren't many.
And there were, maybe a couple of dozen.
Then there were actually converted clubs from Urban Cowboy.
Yes.
Still be
That's what Bruce Ayers did in Birmingham. They took the bull out.
The mechanical,
took the bull out and put us on.
A lot of them didn't take the bull out. Right, like, this might come back.
Yeah, exactly.
They just put the comedian behind the bull, on the bull, whatever it was. Right. And there was a phase, and a disco, obviously, they converted all these places, even one-nighters.
Right.
So it'd be like a disco ball or a cow, a bull, mechanical bull, and all that kind of stuff. But I would get up anywhere, fraternity parties,
absolutely,
strip clubs.
Anywhere.
That was a big thing.
Anywhere
that
paid us
a microphone,
anything,
or not paid us.
We go
even
do
more
it.
Not pay. But I did put myself through college. I never got a dime from a parent. So I put myself through 4.5
But it was
college,
when I was in
comedy mostly.
When I was in her theater department at University of Memphis, and that was a very cutting edge theater department. They were really you wouldn't think of it at University of Memphis, but they were. But nobody even mentioned stand up comedy as something to do. Nobody knew how to get into it. Nobody knew anything. And I remember this girl, one of the girls in the program, had come back from New York, and she goes, "We went to this place, and this has got to be 78." She goes, "We went to this place called Catch a Rising Star." Yeah. And she didn't realize they were doing stand-up. She said, these people were getting up doing monologues. And they were all funny. They were funny monologues. And she goes, I watched them, and I went, Les would be good at that. That's something he would be. And then years later, I ended up there in around 1980. 79, 80. Went up, did a summer stock thing, went up to New York with one of the actors for the first time. We stumbled across Catch a Rising Star. I heard of that place. I still didn't know it was stand-up comedy. We walked in. It was open mic night. We watched about 12 comics. 2 were good. The rest were horrible. I walked out and went, that's stand-up comedy in Manhattan? I think I can do this.
Yeah, some were horrible.
But it's like you're alluding to. In 1980, 81, there were 24 comedy clubs in the country. By 86, 87, there were 200 comedy clubs.
I remember getting together.
It blew up.
Me and Rosie O'Donnell started together, and I remember having a conversation with her that we could name all the comics. How about, we really thought, we believed that we could name, we may have been right, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there are certain people that were on a tour, and you came across one another.
Right.
And obviously there's the showcase clubs. Catch a Rising Star is where they discovered Freddie Prinze.
Sure.
I remember that story. That was a very motivating story. He got Chico and the Man, and they discovered him one night in Catch a Rising Star. A lot of people worked that club.
Yeah, Catch and well, back then
Comic Strip,
Catch, Dangerfields, and
Dangerfields was a little later,
and Improv. Those were the 4.
The Improv, Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
I have a story about Dangerfield. I walked backstage, and I think it was with Tim Allen actually. Before Tim was big, it was 3 headliners, and he had a place. Dangerfield's in Vegas. He's back there with 2 naked women. His just obliterated, his bloodshot eyes, snorting coke, off of their naked, anyway, chests, and he just looks at us. How you doing, guys? Here, you know why I do this? Because I can. What a way to meet a legend.
I met him once at the American Comedy Awards, and but we were working. Three of us had a comedy show that was half stand-up, half improv, and we were working in Atlantic City. And there was a little bar in the casino that was just a drinking bar. It's a little side drinking bar. And every night we go right down there after the show, and there was a hooker, this Puerto Rican hooker named Mabel, one missing tooth right over here, sat at the corner of the bar. So you got to know her. We're all in the same business, kind of. Comedy Boys, the Comedy Boys is here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she goes, hey. And I can't get this ever out of my mind. She goes, you know something, guys? I blew Dangerfield once. Balls the size of grapefruits. I go, well, there you go. Anytime somebody says Dangerfield, I go, my mind goes, balls the size of grapefruits.
And I go to the other, because I can. Yeah, he was a legend. What year was that you went to the Comedy Awards? I won it one year.
Yes, I know. Yeah. I went the first year. Diane Ford got us invited both times because Diane was nominated 13 times, right. Or the most, and never won.
And Dom Herrera.
And
the two of them were nominated all the time, but
and never won.
They were
right?
Like the Susan Lucci.
And
remember
the
that?
first year we went, Dunham won.
Oh, that was the year before.
And that was they were honoring Jerry Lewis that night.
Yeah.
And he was there. And then the next year, I think Mary Ellen Hooper and Penny, John Penny, the heavy. Panette.
Yes.
John Panette.
Oh, that was right after me. That was like 99?
Yeah. And Dustin Hoffman was at that one, I remember.
Yeah.
But those were fun, weren't they?
They were great. I mean, it was an amazing night for me. I remember I met Mel Brooks that night and Jerry Stiller. And
I met Jerry at the...
Like, you're too good looking to be. That's what he says to me. But, I have to be honest with you, though. It was the loneliest night of my life.
Were you not with anybody? You went with a girl?
I went with a friend, but it was the loneliest night of my life because here's my whole life. I wanted to achieve something like this.
Right.
And I walked backstage, and it was almost like instant that the comedians resented me.
Oh.
So I became the Carrot Top, the Jeff Dunham, the butt of the joke.
Right.
And comedians, once they get that jealousy and once they put that bullseye on your back, it's tough. And I felt it instantly.
Wow.
And then I didn't even know where to go.
I think Mary Ellen got that too.
Really?
Because I think a lot of people thought she was undeserving of it at that point in time.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? That she really hadn't paid her dues enough. And Dunham, of course, was a puppeteer, so he shouldn't have gotten it.
Carrot Top with the props.
Exactly right.
Reason why someone's not a pure comic, why they don't deserve it. I remember Seinfeld won it. But they were mad at him because he was too big to win it. So with comics, you ain't gonna win.
Right.
And that's what I felt that night. I am not gonna win this. This is not a victory. I walked in the Comedy Store with my award. They laughed at me because I had my award on me. The limousine's outside. And I remember going to the limousine, going, I don't know where to go.
Right.
I don't know who to celebrate this with.
Right.
It's funny about awards. Like one time I was backstage in my film, The Love Master, with Farrah Fawcett and stuff. We won the Independent Film Festival. It was like 15,000 people at the convention center in Los Angeles. And I said, again, didn't have a girlfriend or anything. I said, call my mom. My mom loves celebrities, and Robin Williams is there. I said, Robin, would you talk to my mother in Philadelphia? He goes, oh, yes, I'll talk to the Love Master's mother. Oh, yes, I will. I said, great. I call her. I go, hey, Mom. She goes, hello, tentative. I go, Mom, it's me. Guess what? My film just won the Independent Film Festival. Can you believe it? And I'm standing here with Robin Williams who's going to talk to you. And there's this pause, and she goes, that's very nice, Craig. You know not to call me during Jeopardy. I got to go. And she's hanging up. I hear, who is Anwar Sadat?
Oh, God.
And I turn to Robin. I go, she hung up on me. I'll never forget these compassionate eyes. He goes, I understand. He understands. There's a lot that goes with this.
Absolutely.
I'm one of my biggest disappointments of life, though, is how we are regarded. I think it's the greatest art form there is. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a comedian, because we do everything. We produce and direct and write and we're makeup, sound, we're everything, right? But not sound yet. So you put the lights in, but we have no backup. We are on the road I just flew in a couple hours ago by myself. And, and all that, and people don't understand what goes into it.
Yeah.
We have to write all of it, and keep writing. Singers, they want you to do the same song.
Right.
Us, they want you to change it up. So it's the most difficult thing, but it's the most disrespected. You know, when Will Smith slapped, I thought it was such a representation of the way the world is. He slaps a comedian, like really hard.
Yes.
And they gave him a standing ovation.
I know.
We're so disrespected. They should have arrested him, right?
Of course.
And then,
of course, that we all as comedians go, why is that motherfucker in the room?
Exactly.
Why is he in the room?
And then the standing ovation.
Because he's Will Smith. Well, what does that say to the whole fucking world?
It didn't matter what actor it was. Actors have this attitude. I remember when Chris Rock was hosting the Oscars and he kept going, Jude Law. Who is Jude Law? It was like a little shtick. He was doing a little callback, and then out comes Sean Penn, practically with fog machines. Sean, he just looks at Chris Rock like, you little peon. He goes, Jude Law is a fine actor. You know what I mean? Just they take themselves so serious. You have all your lines written for you. You've got multiple takes and everything. We should be more respected. People review movies all the time, and actors, they get Oscars. There's no comedy awards anymore. There's no awards even in the Oscars. There's not even a category. So you're getting
in the Golden Globes, though, last year they finally put a stand-up comedy.
What did it take to do that?
I know it. I know.
How ridiculous is this? But we're not reviewed. And I have fans of mine, I go, why don't you put a review on your Facebook? But they'll put a review of a TV show, a movie, a song, singers, whatever it is, actors. Everybody gets reviewed. We don't get reviewed and respected. And that really, to this day, just bothers me.
Well, the one thing, and of course, teach it, see it.
I can go on stage, bro.
What time is it?
It's showtime.
What the fuck? Do you need to prepare?
I have them on my.
We can stop. We can stop. We can stop right now. I've actually done this podcast and heard them start the show, and I go, oh, podcast's over. All I'll say is this: you're exactly right about that, and I challenge anybody. I'll say this: with Saturday Night Live has been something that I use as a benchmark. Over the years, I get offered, you want this act, celebrity, it's going to pack your place, from Saturday Night Live. And I go, were they a comic before they went on Saturday Night Live? And if they go no, I'll go, how long have they been touring? And if they say they started this year, I go, call me in 3 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Call me in 3 years, because I've seen it. And that thing
when they rely on their name.
Well, and the thing is, they're funny. They're comic actors. You know what I mean? As we know, they're improv actors. They're comic actors. But we all know that the discipline to be a stand-up is totally different. And I always say, every rock star wants to be a comic. Every comic wants to be a rock star.
That's how I met Brian Johnson.
Absolutely.
ACDC.
Everybody, all rock stars admire that. Musicians go, oh man, I'd like to do that, because they're in front of you. They're talking. I have
so many. I got John Oates is my friend. I wrote him into my movie.
Nice.
Totally baked. Kenny Loggins. I toured with him. Did Broadway with him.
Absolutely.
I mean,
but
sang with him on Broadway. Actually,
I watched Tommy Chong.
What a dream.
I watched, and it's amazing life. But going back to, a big one was Tommy Chong decided to go out as a single stand-up comic, and we went to his one of his first shows at Ron Bennington's club in Clearwater, and he thought he could get up there and just tell old stories and stuff like this, and it tanked. And here is a room full of people that absolutely love this man. I mean, we all love him, and they'll give you about 10 minutes gratuitously. And if you ain't funny, and of course, nobody's going to boo Tommy Chong. Nobody's going to do, because we loved him. We just felt sad for him. Well, what Tommy did was he did a few of those and went, fuck, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. And he went back and got it with some writers and and developed a show and got back out there and did well. But he realized, he got out there thinking, as sophisticated as he is to comedy, going, how much harder could this be? Well, it's way the fuck harder. It is. And anybody out, I tell anybody, I go, you know what's harder than stand-up comedy? Ballet. I've tried ballet. It is really, really fucking hard. It is fucking hard.
I disagree. I'll show you torchete. It won't be the best. I'm not going to, be a member of the Academy, but I will show you a Torshate as a Baryshnikov cannot show you a punchline.
That you're exactly.
I guarantee.
And I have met him, and he is not funny.
Not funny at all.
Nice guy, not funny.
I am telling you, but we can make him funny. But I'm telling you, it's the hardest art form.
There's hands down.
And
hands
that's
down.
not to brag, but more people should give us more respect.
I totally agree.